that before you said you're, or something along the lines, you said something along the lines of you're not as concerned about results as like the way you're playing, but does it feel good to string together wins when a team has been struggling to get wins throughout the season?
I mean, yeah, obviously that's the goal at the end of the day. I've always believed in the game. If you make more winning plays than your opponent, more often than not, you're going to win games. So, I think the result of winning at the end is a byproduct of what you do for the 48 minutes. So certainly the outcomes that we want are to win. I'm not diminishing that at that point, but to focus on just winning without having to put the work in and to play good basketball on both ends of the floor, I think you start to get so result-oriented that you miss out on the fact that every possession, offensively and defensively, is important, and you want to play well. That's not to say we're going to play mistake-free or perfect, but we've got to understand that the 48-minute game, the more we play consistently for 48 minutes, the better chance we give ourselves with the outcome that we want.
I think I've asked you before about Russell's defense, and just to my naked eye, I thought he was outstanding in the last game, and particularly the way he was vocal, working over screens, just putting in a lot of effort on the defensive end. Do you see the noticeable difference when Russell is playing that way, that it changes the way that you guys play defense?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a great job, I think, all year long. The one thing that's great with Russell is that when you point out things to him that he's got to improve upon, and things that he's got to get better at as it relates to helping our team, he's always very, very receptive of doing those things. So I thought, to your point, he was great defensively in the game. But I really also think because of his activity and the amount of deflections he created and where he was and the way he got into plays, it really stood out. But I also think, too, for him on the perimeter, he's done a really good job of being in some good areas and spots on the floor where he's really been in good help position, where maybe he has not created a deflection or a steal, but has prevented a drive. So I think for him, he's doing a really good job defensively. Without question, when your point guard plays defense and as disruptive as he was in the game, having a guy like Steven in the back line of the defense, there's no question that makes a big impact.
Billy, you had a play 2 nights ago where the PG hit Steven over the top on a lob, and before Steven even got back to the ground, he'd already fired a pass into the corner. Just your thoughts on the luxury it is to have a true center that can make a play like that and has the skill level to move the ball for you that way.
I think Steven's got really, really good intentions offensively. He's an unselfish player. He actually has good vision. I think some of the things for him as he continues to evolve as a player is the execution of those passes. Sometimes, he sees them a lot of times, but, getting it there is another thing, and I think that's an area he's really improved upon and he's gotten better at. And he's done a good job of when he can get on top of the rim of trying to go finish. But if he's catching the ball below the free throw line, he's doing a good job of surveying the floor and seeing what's open and making the extra pass.
This team's done a really good job of not hanging their head after some kind of disappointing losses and some bad performances. But when they have a game like that against Utah a few nights ago, as a coach, do you just kind of look at them and say, like, guys, this is the potential of this team. This is what we can do when you lock in and have a high energy output.
Yeah, I don't think our guys haven't necessarily had high energy. I think there's been some times where they're trying to figure out how to all fit together and play together. The encouraging part, I've said this all year long, is their willingness to work at that every day to try to get better in those areas. So, again, I'm sure Quinn, in the Utah game probably has a different perspective. They had 7 games on the road. I don't know what kind of shape his team was in. Gobert wasn't there, and I'm not taking anything away from the way our guys played and what they did. But we played and did the things that we wanted to do in that game. We only can control what we can control, and we did a good job there. Now, can we keep playing more and more consistently? The thing that was encouraging to me is coming out of that Denver game, we're up by 8 going into the third quarter, and we didn't really play the game with very much pace. And I think that's what we need pace. And I thought the third quarter against Utah, we came out and played with really good pace and tempo, and we kept our pace up. And I think that's really important that we do that for 48 minutes. And there's been times where I think that's where our inconsistencies have come, where we haven't played with that same kind of pace. We've gotten a little bit stagnant. And when you're not playing with pace, sometimes the ball has a tendency to stick and not get where it needs to get to, because you're kind of just not, I don't say just not sprinting it, but you're not flowing into things freely. And that's been something we've tried to focus on and get better at.
For tonight or the other night, you you were yelling pace, pace, pace a couple of times. Is that something you feel a need to remind? Is it something that can slip over the course of the game? And maybe that has slipped in those third quarters.
Well, I mean, you know, like, it's, you know, someone like Russell or Paul or even Carmelo, you know, those guys can generate and create shots for themselves. So a lot of times, like, the end result of taking a shot doesn't necessarily have to do with pace, because you can get those guys shots with ball near the floor, they can create something, but inevitably they're going to go against the set defense. When there's pace going up and down the floor, what happens is it makes it a lot more difficult, you know, for the defense to settle. So the first thing they've got to do is they've got to get back and they've got to load up and protect Russell. And Russell's got really good vision. He can create closeout situations for guys. So the pace part of it is just getting up the floor so we can get the ball moving. Once the ball starts moving, we can get the ball ahead of the defense. Now those guys can make plays in a little bit more space. But when we get into, I think, sometimes where we're not, like, on a made basket, you know, I don't expect us to fly up the floor in one pass shot, but we can flow down there and get our offense going a little bit. And I think when we do that, we're better.
Coach, obviously the Hawks have had their struggles so far this season, but what worries you most about this team tonight?
Well, I think Mike's done a great job with the team from this perspective. They play really, really hard. They've got a lot of really hard driving players that really attack the paint. They shoot the ball extremely well, you know, in transition. I think if you look at the majority of their games, they're in every single game. And I always say this sometimes, you know, like, especially in the NBA, you know, their record could be totally different. You know, they had every opportunity to beat Memphis. It kind of came down to the wire and really probably led Memphis for, you know, all but the last maybe minute of the game when Evans made a shot against them. You know, and that happens sometimes. So I thought they played a really, really good game, even though they didn't get the result they wanted. And they obviously, I think, have always put themselves in position to win. And sometimes that record doesn't necessarily reflect how well your team is playing and what they're doing. But I think they've played very good basketball.
Anybody else? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.